All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Just want to check the audio real quick. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd also like to give double honors to my elders, bishops, and apostles of Great Millstone that do rule well. And I would like to say peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, who are Israelites. And I'd also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elected in 1/3, which I will say this, the Lord's people are also scattered amongst all people, but salvation is only for the nation of Israel, even though you're going to have portions of the Lord's people coming from other nations and even looking like other nations, but ultimately their line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. And, you can tell the Lord's people based off the spirit. All right. So I just want to do this real quick lesson. For Wada Yah Bashem El Shai Bashem Rakakwadash for giving me the inspiration to do this lesson. And as the title reads, King Saul tried to save a Edomite, and what happened? Okay, so I was watching this video earlier by the elder Manat Dezagba. Okay, let me see, right here. Okay, I was watching this. Okay, it says, ignore these Hebrew Israelite camps, my white brothers and sisters. Okay, it says hashtag Esau Raccoon Sammy Bo. All right, and I got to thinking. All right, I'll say my mind started thinking through the inspiration of Yahweh Shemel Shai, and this when Jake is in the spirit of trying to save everybody or have mercy on heathen nations, they have a high level demon of rebellion on them. All right. And even in times past, you had in particular accounts where Israel or portions of Israel, or in particular men of Israel, disobeyed the commandment, all right, of their Lord, of their God, okay, and tried to show mercy or spare other nations, heathen nations, and were judged for it. All right. So I thought that this would be a good angle. Okay, especially now with mockers in the last days. You have to understand that the demons that are on them, all right, are the same rebellious demons that jumped on our people in the past that tried to do the same thing. Okay, now let me get this actually real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. It says, the thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So in time past, has there been accounts where Israel or portions of Israel disobeyed the commandment of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, pertaining to what they were commanded to do with heathens and didn't? Yeah. Okay. So that angle, okay, because if you notice, when it comes to heathens, they're not fighting for everyone. They're not fighting for Jake specifically to be saved like everyone else. But when it comes to Jake, they are specifically fighting for Edomite nations to be saved. Now, of course, they'll throw in other nations, but the main angle, the main spirit, the main nation that they are, advocating for are Edomites. And it got me thinking how there was an account, a major account with King Saul at the time, where he was commanded to utterly destroy Edomites, and not, and particularly not just Edomites, but Amalekites. Okay, and he didn't obey that, and that resulted in him being dethroned, being rejected by the Lord. Okay, so I think this is a very edifying angle to use when the topic of discussion of salvation for all nations. Well, we have accounts where an Israelite king spared an Amalekite king, and he was rejected by the Lord for doing so. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to focus on 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, but I'm also want to jump around to two other accounts where the Lord pretty much judged us for disobedience. Okay. And that disobedience came from not listening to the commandment of judgment that we were told to do upon heathen nations. All right. This is 1 Samuel 15:1. It says, Samuel, the priest, also said unto Saul, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. So we are to hearken unto the voice of the words of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, not people, not man, not opinion, and not emotion. But right now, in the last days, you have 2/3 portions of Jake that are filled with rebellion, masked with emotion. And ultimately, this is because they were born in vain. This is not what the house of David would be doing, because remember, the characteristics of the house of David was to be after the Lord's heart. Let me grab that real quick. And I just want to keep saying it. I feel like this is a very beautiful angle for us to use while defending the gospel. Okay, you ask someone that, they say salvation is for everyone. Then they say, why did the Lord reject Saul when he tried to save Amalek king? See, this is 1 Samuel 13:14. It says, but now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. See, you see that? Okay, so the Lord wants us to be after his heart. This is why our King David, all right, was appointed. All right, so you don't want to be in that house of Saul spirit, that rebellious spirit, that not listening to the Lord's spirit. And remember, the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker, and the house of David grew stronger and stronger. So the house of David's only going to get stronger and stronger. There's going to be more angles, more edification. The Spirit's going to continue to pour out. And these false doctrines are just going to be hewed down in the spirit. So now from there, let's jump back. Okay, so now look at this. It says 1 Samuel 15:2. Thus saith Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. So the Lord commanded King Saul in Israel to go to war with Amalek and utterly destroy Amalek. Okay, because you got to understand, when Jacob jumps in the spirit of salvation for this and salvation for them, they're not applying the commandments of the Lord. The Lord has judgment for these nations that they haven't ultimately received yet. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. You know, there are judgments prophetically that have not been fulfilled yet upon nations on the earth. And Jake is trying to bypass that with this white Eurocentric Christianity, Judeo-Christian spin. And that's not the case. Okay, because look at what the Lord did to his own chosen people. You know, we're still suffering curses. We're still waiting on the prophecy of Jacob's trouble to be fulfilled. So the Lord's chosen people still haven't even gone through every prophetic portion of judgment that's laid wait for 2/3 of his own people. But here it is. Jake's going to try to tell you that no matter the nation, you can still have salvation. Nah, man, it don't work like that. Salvation is only for Israel. And I got a couple of precepts for you, but I just want to use this angle, to denounce this false doctrine, this false argument. So let's see what happens. So Saul was commanded to destroy Amalek. Now there's a spiritual aspect to this too, but I just want to focus on this. So now let's go down into it. So go down to verse 8. 1 Samuel 15:8. And it says, well, actually, let's go up here. Verse 7. It says, and Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of Amalekites, alive. But the Lord said, utterly destroy. The Lord said, utterly destroy, because when we go to war, when you go to war with a nation, we're to destroy. Like, look at this right here, Deuteronomy 20 and 15. It says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these people, which the Lord thy power does give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breedeth. Okay, so when you look in the scriptures and in the laws and in the commandments, Judeo white Eurocentric Christianity is not a part of the Lord's commandments. This is a part of man's doctrine that they're trying to supersede, okay, over truth. And that's not what's going to happen, because they can yell, they can talk, they can complain to their so-called blue in the face, but when prophecy takes place, we're going to see truth unfold, okay? You're going to see truth take place in that time. Like in the days of Noah, only 8 people were allowed on that ark and the doors were sealed. So you could say, oh, anybody could be saved, anybody. But when those doors open and only that elect get on board, that's when man will know who are the Lord's chosen. Remember, it says, then they shall know who are my chosen. So right now, people have this notion that under their emotional belief, they can pick and choose between certain precepts, says this or that person is chosen. That's not true. And this example of Saul, King Saul at the time, disobeying the commandment of the Lord and being rejected is a prime example of that. So you trying to advocate Edomite salvation is a one-way ticket of rejection by the Lord, because that's rebellion, and that rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. So Jake out here trying to fight and advocate for heathens to be saved, that is a great example of the Lord rejecting you. Okay, because why did the Lord reject Saul? There's a few reasons, and here is one of them: the rebellion of not hearkening to the word. Now look, Samuel rebuked Saul. See, look, 1 Samuel 15:8, and he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive. But the Lord said to smite them utterly, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen and of the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile or refused, that they destroyed utterly. But the Lord commanded for everything to be destroyed. Okay, it said destroy utterly all that they have, but they didn't do that. See, now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have. So this cuts Christianity right here. Okay, because why was Saul rejected? So what we could do is we could continue to read down, but you know what, I'm just, for time's sake, I'm just going to jump down. Let's see. Let's jump down to, we could go to about 1920. Let's start at 18. It says, 1 Samuel 15 and 18. And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners of the Amalekites and fight against them until they be consumed. That's not salvation for everyone. See? But Jake, now, even though these heathens are destined to be destroyed and then play out servitude under us in our kingdom, Jake has this misconception that they will be equal to the Israelites in the kingdom of Israel, and that's far from the truth. Okay, look, so Jake is really in the house of Saul spirit, trying to save those that are prophesied to be destroyed. You're in a house of Saul spirit trying to save those that are prophesied to be destroyed, because salvation is only for Israel. Look, wherefore then didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil, and didst evil in the sight of the Lord? Wait a minute. So Saul saving a Edomite, a Amalekite king, that was evil in the sight of the Lord? But in Christianity, that wouldn't be evil. See? And Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord and have gone the way which the Lord sent me. So Saul, leaning on his own understanding, believed that he was doing what the Lord ultimately required him to do. Now I'll say, the judgment for Amalek will ultimately be fulfilled in our kingdom. All right, because when you go to Numbers, okay, 24. All right, this is the parable. His latter end is that he's going to perish. So the utter destruction of Amalek will ultimately be fulfilled in our kingdom, which will be on earth, and also be the fulfillment of Obadiah. But in this instant right here, Saul believed that he was doing the Lord's will, like Jake today. Jake believes that they're doing the Lord's will. Okay, but that's why it says the deceived and the deceiver are his. Proverbs 3 and 5. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. But a lot of Jakes lean unto their own understanding. Why? All right, because they may have a zeal, but not according to the knowledge. This is Romans 10 and 2. For I bear them record that they have zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. So you are destroyed for that lack of knowledge, even though you may have a zeal. So pretty much you got Jake. They're like this. Keisha, yeah, right here. This is spirit Jake's in. Okay, 2/3 Jakes. This is spirit they're in. Okay, they think that they're doing the Lord's work because she's actually a Christian, and she said her religion compelled her to do this. See, so that's a very scary thing, man. You got Jake right now, believing in who they call God and who they ignorantly call Jesus, and believe in the name of white Eurocentric Judeo Christianity that they're doing the right thing. But Saul spared Amalek and thought he was doing the right thing, and that led to him being rejected. So that's a very scary thing when you understand it. This is why you need to be careful with that Edomite Christianity doctrine, because it's just set up to trap you. It's set up to trick you. It's set up to have you get rejected, man. Okay? And you just out here like this. You just out here like this. Through. Done. Okay? So King Saul tried to save an Edomite, and what happened? And guess what? The same Edomite that he saved got chopped into pieces by Samuel, who was the priest. You see that? So this is a major cut. I think this is a great example. So let me keep reading. Okay, this is 1 Samuel 15, and I got a couple accounts for you. 1 Samuel 15, and let's keep reading. 20. It says, and Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek. But the Lord didn't tell you to bring Amalek the king. Okay. But now ultimately, this is going to lead to us being the ones that fulfill the prophecy in Numbers 24, fulfill the prophecy in Obadiah against Esau, Edom, and Amalek as well. It says, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites, but not all of them. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy power in Gilgal. Now watch this. And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. To obey is better than sacrifice. All right. So Jake, all right, in this house of Saul spirit, has a rebellious spirit on him rather than a obeying spirit. We're here to obey Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay. This is why Apostle Paul said, be ye followers of me as I am Hamashiach. So we are Mashiach Yum. Okay. We would be Mashiach Yum. So it's the Mashiach Yum, if you will, spiritually versus Christians. Okay. All right. Let me keep going. And it says, let me see. It says, behold, to obey is better. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. And majority of Jake, 2/3, are very rebellious, stubborn. Okay. And that is equated to witchcraft, iniquity, and idolatry. All right. So Jake out here advocating for Edomites is a very evil, rebellious, stubborn spirit, a demon that they have on them, and we see it in time past with our people before. All right, now I'm going to keep reading, but look, let me show you something like this right here. Israel rebuked. Judges 2:1. And the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim, and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this? See? Wherefore I said also, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. So the God of Christianity is a snare unto our people. And this is why the Lord has rebuked us in time past for these exact reasons, for disobeying, for rebelling, for not obeying what was commanded of us pertaining to our relationship with heathens. And this is what Christianity is. It's the unification of a one world government. It's a product of an emotional belief ultimately leading to the New World Order. All can be saved. And guess what? All will, Esau is going to say all can be saved through the MOTB. So this is like a universal, weird, wayward Tower of Babel demon that Jake has on him. And they specifically got it for Esau first and foremost. But Saul spared the Edomite, and what happened to him? Okay. Jake didn't obey, and what happened? All right, look, let me give you another one. Joshua 7:1. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of Yahweh Shai was kindled against the children of Israel. See? So right here. So Israel in time past, when it came to the heathen, all right, there was times where they didn't obey the commandment, and the Lord judged us for that. So you not obeying the commandment when it says salvation is only for Israel, you're going to be judged for that. And that's why I made the disclaimer in the beginning of this lesson. Yes, Israel will come from all nations, but that doesn't mean all salvation is for all nations. Okay. Now look, let me go into his name real quick. Look at Achan. Let me show you. Achan. It says, troubler, a Judite who violated God's specific ban on taking any loot from the captured city of Jericho, and was stoned to death along with his family for this violation. So if you put it, Jake, like this, okay, with this same notion, and then you brought him to ancient time, what would have been the judgment for him? Okay, if he was apart with King Saul and wanted to spare Agag, what would have been the judgment for that? So this is a great example to show you salvation cannot be for all nations, even though we know that. But this is to show you, when you read, salvation cannot be for all nations, because Israel was judged at times for disobeying the judgment that was put upon these nations. Okay, now let me go back. Now check this out. This is 1 Samuel 15 and 23. All right, right here, 24. What is Saul's response? And Saul, so guess what? For you brothers and sisters out there, if a demon tries to get upon you and make you think salvation is for all nations, literally all nations, and not just because Jake is scattered amongst all nations, hey, you will be in violation of judgment. You will be in violation, and that will lead to judgment. That will lead to you being rejected. That is a scary thing, and it's not nothing to play with. Trying to integrate heathen amongst the Lord's people is a violation. We are a holy. How can we be a holy nation? How can we be a holy nation if all nations can integrate within us? You know, let me get that real quick. It's an oldie but goldie. Deuteronomy, just real quick. Deuteronomy 7. Look, for thou art an holy people. How can we be a holy people if all nations can be amongst us? Unto the Lord thy power, and Yahweh Bashemel Shai thy power has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. See that? See? But now here in 2025, with the prophecy of mockers in the last days, these are examples of scorners and mockers that are soon going to have stripes for the back of their foolish ways. So it will behoove you to carry yourself in a wise manner through the Holy Spirit and understanding what the will of the Lord is. And the will of the Lord is not for Israel to be integrated with these heathen nations. And King Saul is a great example. He spared a Edomite, Amalekite king and was rejected. And he was a king. He was a king. Look, let's go. It says 1 Samuel 15 and 24. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned. Wait a minute, look at this. So Saul sinned by sparing an Edomite, okay, by not obeying the voice of the Lord. Saul sinned. So you as an Israelite are in sin trying to bring salvation to the heathen nation. And this is a great example of it. For I have transgressed the commandment of Yahweh Shemel Shai and thy words because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. See? So you cannot be in the spirit of joining the masses when it comes to opinion. You cannot stand here and think that you're doing the will of the Heavenly Father through the only begotten Son, but having fear of what the people think of that judgment when it's proclaimed. Okay? This is what sets the men of the Lord apart from the rest. Now it says, look, now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin and turn again with me that I may worship the Lord. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected thee from being king over Israel. Look at that. Look at that. What a great example. So King Saul spared an Edomite, saved the Edomite, and then that led to him being rejected as a king. Okay, I don't want that. Now look what happened. Now look what happened to the Edomite that he spared. 1 Samuel 15 and 31. So Samuel turned again unto Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. And it says, then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, as thy sword has made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai in Gilgal. So see that? Though hand be joined in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. So no matter what the 2/3 Jakes try to do, no matter what emotional rant they try to bring or some false doctrine that they try to push and teach, it does not change the judgment that the Lord is going to bring forth that he has prophesied, but what will lead to is you being cast out into outer darkness and ultimately into the lake of fire. And then those who you try to save are going to be destroyed right along with you. You see that? So this is born in vain. Okay, you are trying to save who is prophesied to be destroyed. Okay, and then in our kingdom, they're going to fulfill a prophecy of captivity because they put us in captivity, and then after that captivity is fulfilled, then the prophecy in Obadiah will take place, and they will be destroyed forever. Which right here, Numbers 24 and 20. It says, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. So how, right here, how could even Amalek be saved according to Christianity when prophecy says that they will perish forever? So what a great angle to use with this wayward doctrine of confusion, muffled through emotion, that Jake is under a spell in when it comes to trying to bring salvation to nations that are prophesied for destruction. Okay, you see? Let me see what else I got for you. Oh, look at this one. Deuteronomy 7 and 1, another account. Look at this. So what about these nations for Christians out here? When the Lord thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before thee. But these many nations are also supposed to be granted salvation. The Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. See that? You see that? So even in the scriptures, the Lord not only commanded us to destroy nations or destroy them and kick them out their land, but also not to show mercy upon them. So an example of Saul showing mercy upon an Edomite Amalekite king Agag, that led to not only Agag still being put to death, but Saul being rejected as king. So that's like getting kicked out of camp because you want all nations to be saved. So you do not want to fall under the category of Saul. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but you do not want to fall under the category of Saul, which is the house of David. And you're ultimately just going to wither away. What is that? First Samuel's. What a great angle, in my personal opinion. Second Samuel. 2 Samuel 3:1. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. The house of Saul is filled with a lot of wicked jakes. It's filled with the synagogue of Satan, okay, and as well as also 2/3 that don't even want to identify as Israelites, but want to merge and integrate heathens with Israelites. And guess what? You're just going to continue to wax weaker and weaker. And it says, but David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. So at the end of the day, these Christian jakes, these 2/3 lost, born in vain Israelites, they're going to scratch and claw, okay, for access for the heathen into our holy congregation, and that's not what the Lord set up. And they're ultimately going to be destroyed for that rebellion, for that wickedness, okay, because salvation is only for Israel. Joel 2:32. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered, for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance. So deliverance is only prophesied to come out of Israel. So they cannot be saved, even though you're trying to bring them home for dinner. Remember when you would try to bring something in the house when you were little and your mother didn't let you, and what you had to do? You had to leave it at the door. You had to leave it at the gate. See that? So even though Jake is pushing and fighting and trying to pull out a precept, when the Lord comes back and separates the sheep from the goat, that's when you're gonna know who salvation is for. So right now they're just running in vain. They're running in vain. Okay, what's to say the heathen imagine a vain thing? Okay, you're going to see in the time of salvation who the Lord has commanded his angels to gather. What about the Lord's elect? Matter of fact, real quick, Matthew 24. What about the elect? Who are the elect? Matter of fact, who is the elect? What nation is identified as the elect? Real quick, Isaiah 45. Okay, Isaiah 45 and where is it? I just read this the other day. Right here. Okay. Look at this. Let's put this here and let's go right here. Let's put this red letter on. Look at these angles. See, we're just getting these angles now. Okay. Because they can talk and they can say that. But when you pull out these angles through these precepts, you get understanding. There's nothing that can be said after that. Okay. Real quick. Matthew's 24. All right. Look at this. Matthew 24, is it 31? Okay, right here. Look at this. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna put it. Hold on. This is how I'm gonna do it. Let me go here. Okay, right here. Okay, look at this. All right. Matthew 24. Look, Matthew 24 and 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Who's the elect? For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel my elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. And this is an example of them not knowing the Lord right here. Okay, 2/3. And guess what? To take it a step further, the elect, 144,000. Matter of fact, since somebody might want to say something, let me just prove that real quick. It could be an honest question. Okay, the elect, right? Well, the elect right here, Revelation 7, it mentions 144,000, which is 12,000 Israelite men from each tribe. But then when you go down further, somebody says, wait a minute, here's the all nations. Now I can get why you would think that, but now let's explain it. And if you have humility, you'll be corrected. But every time we bring these precepts out and we show them and correct them, they just skip past it and try to find another door to squeeze in. Revelation 7 and 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, but Israel was scattered amongst all nations, and kindred, and people, and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and palms in their hands. Now, who are the kindred amongst these nations? You go right here. Look at this. Who are the kindred amongst these nations? You go on the word kindred right here in the New Testament. Okay, look at that. You cannot deny this. If you deny this, you got demons on you, man. Okay, you are not sincere. If you deny this, you got demons on you. You are not sincere. In the New Testament, for the word kindred, all persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob, not the daughters. Okay, not the daughters, because you can have an Israelite woman birth a son. But if that man that got her pregnant is not an Israelite, then that child that comes forth from her womb is not an Israelite either. Only Israelite men can create Israelite men or Israelites. Okay. Israelite women come from the loins of Israelite men. Okay. The only way Israelite women are on earth are because of Israelite men. Okay. In the New Testament, all the persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. There you go. Salvation is only for Israel. Okay. John 4 and 22. This is for Christians out there. Ye know not what. Ye worship, ye know not what. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. This is in red letter. Okay. Salvation is only for Israel. So what would a Jake say to an angel that's only here to gather the elect? And that's another thing. Not only is Israel the elect, there's an elect within the elect. So you'll have Jakes who are Israelites that will not have the mark Thawa, exemption from judgment. It will not be delivered either. It's only about the small remnant right now, even in the midst of Israel, and salvation's only for Israel. That's a scary thing. So you're playing with fire. Here it is. Only the elect of the elect will be delivered out of Israel, and you got 2/3 amongst the elect nation trying to bring salvation to heathen nations. That's not even true. That's scary. You're of the elect. You're of the elect chosen nation, and you're trying to bring in a non-chosen people. Wow, that's scary, man. Obadiah 1 and 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. Wait a minute, look at this. Mount Zion and Jerusalem shall be deliverance. So only of Israel is deliverance. It says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. So there you go, man. Okay, I just wanted to do a lesson upon that. I just found that to be very edifying, especially with all the weird angles, the precepts they try to ask them. Okay, if Edomites can be saved, why was King Saul rejected as a king, and he saved a Edomite, and not only just an Edomite, a Edomite king of the Amalekites? You see that? You see? So real quick, I see a precept or two. So let me just see if I can end it off on one. Oh, here's a good one. This is Hebrews 12 and 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, for who one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, because he was the firstborn, okay, in the flesh. He was the firstborn in the flesh, but that firstborn or that sonship was transitioned to Jacob. It says he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So Esau is a prime example to show you that all nations can't be saved, because Edomite is one in particular and specific nation that can't be saved. So there you go. So King Saul tried to save the Edomite, and what happened? Okay, the Edomite got put to death, and King Saul got rejected as being a king, and he ultimately died in battle. All right, so what you think is going to happen to these jakes out here that are advocating for Esau? Who they're advocating for is going to be put to death, and they're going to die too. This is why they're going to come back in their kingdom, born through the loins of the elect, the small remnant, and they're going to have shame upon them. All right. So I'm gonna end it there. I truly pray that this lesson was edifying. I prayed it was like comforting. It was enlightening. Showed another example through the Holy Spirit of this gospel being true. Okay. So I'm gonna end it there. I just want to say, call halal, abanawa Yahweh, bahashim Yahushai, bahashim Arkakwadash. Double honors to my elders, bishops, and apostles of Great Millstone that do well. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, who are Israelites. With that being said, shalom.